Hi, everybody. I'm Candid Frank. He's David Morisuti, and this is CFL Talk. I hope everybody's doing well. David, thank you for being on the program.
No problem. I hope everyone's staying cool.
Yeah, it's hellacious out there. Was out there for a little bit, do a little bit of work, and I turned around and ran back in the house. So here it is, week 8. And looking back at week 7, the Toronto-Montreal game. Toronto looked to be well under control of this game at the end of the first half. Montreal made adjustments. Toronto didn't predict any of those adjustments to mitigate them. Instead, I lost 26-25. And the one consistent thing I can say about the Toronto Argonauts of 2025 is they don't know how to win.
Yeah, I mean, that's the tough part. There is that when you have a team that's in a position to win and you lose the win, like sometimes players, it's a what's the word? How's the best way to describe it? Sometimes for players, you need to go through learning how to lose before you know how to win. But Toronto's done the winning before. That's the problem, is they know how to win, but it's becoming a point where this team is so banged up. They just don't have the depth, unfortunately, to overcome the losses that they've had.
I have to say that on the other side of the coin, to look at the opposition and to look at the way they played. And for me, the key was Davis Alexander. What an effort he made. Physically challenged going into the game. Physically challenged a little more during the game. And he did what I'm saying the Argos of 2025 can't do, is know how to win. And he knows how to win, and he's done it every start that he's had in the Canadian Football League, and he's full value for those starts.
He is. I mean, he literally put his body on the line to get them that win. Like that win for Montreal came at a cost. I will say, it was, they knew he was not 100%, and you could tell that he wasn't himself in this game. But sometimes you just have to do what you need. You find a way. You just find a way to get the win. But the tough part here now is what do you do going forward with Montreal? Like that's a big win for them. They come back, they get the win, but it comes at a cost. And maybe this is a rallying point for them. Maybe this is one where it's like, we were in such a bad position, but we found a way to win. But guess what? When we've seen how they've looked without Davis Alexander. They're not a winning team without him. And when he's not, I could confidently say that in this game, the main reason why they won, yeah, they got stops on defense, but the offense, when the offense had opportunities, they found ways, right? When Davis Alexander finally got things going, that's when they're at their best. So that's going to be the tough part. There is you're asking the rest of the team to step up, but it's the one guy that's missing that's going to make it tough.
The tough part for me is the only team in the Canadian Football League they hurt. Not just because it was the team they were playing, the Toronto Argonauts. They basically were able to beat Toronto. Great for them. Unfortunately, to get that victory, the other 8 teams, or I should say the other 7 teams, are wringing their hands in anticipation of probably playing the Montreal Alouettes without Davis Alexander. So if that one victory was worth it, congratulations. But if that one victory comes at a cost of, let's say, if he's out for 4 or 5 or 6 weeks, let's say a +2 or +3 in wins, right? That they lose. And instead of being +2 or +3, they end up -1 or -2. That's going to be a big, big factor at the end of the season when you tally up all the points to see who gets home field advantage, in the Eastern Division, and who gets home field advantage in the Eastern semifinal, and all that wonderful stuff that shakes out not because of a weak victory, but because of a season-long consistency. And without him, that team is not the same team. I agree with you 100%.
So, and he's already been put on the 6th game.
Yes.
It's not one of those, we'll see what happens. No.
It happened.
It happened. Unfortunately, he's done. Right?
Yeah.
Like, he's done for 6 games, which means maybe if, again, they put him on the 6th game, but he may not be back after those 6 games.
Well, they'll end up in the same position they were in this past week. Yeah. Do you sit him and make him healthier for the long term, or do you rush him out onto the field to do more damage? They're going to be at that same spot again in 5, 6, 7 weeks.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, like Jason Moss said, we don't know how long he will be out, but he'll be out for this week. I'm not going to keep answering the questions every week. So when you don't see him out there, he isn't playing. Essentially, he is going to be done for. I in my opinion, he is going to be done at least the 6 weeks, and you have to kind of reevaluate after that.
That's the kind of injury where you say, are you ready to play? Yes. Or the doctors say, yeah, he's ready to play. You wait 1 more week. That's just that type of injury. Mm-hmm. It's one that doesn't completely heal on a schedule that you hope it'll heal. Let's move on to a more positive thing with Montreal, and that is Cole Speaker. It seems every week they find somebody that can really, really churn up some yardage in the passing area. And Cole Speaker was that guy last week, 129 yards. This kid amazes me every year. He's one of those guys that I don't want to say flies under the radar, because that kind of week doesn't fly under the radar. But what I'm going to say is he does it so, like, it just you look at the end of the game and you go, holy crap, he did look like he had a good. I didn't realize he had that good a game. That's the kind of player he is.
He's a guy that when he's at his best, he can be a top 5 receiver in this league, but the consistency hasn't necessarily been there for him. But guess what? It's for him. I'm assuming that's fine for him, because when he eventually does get going, like I'm pretty sure. I'm just kind of going back on his career. I'm pretty sure that was a career best game for him too. Like, he's had 100-yard games. That was the best game he's ever had. And a big part of that too was the targets. They threw the ball his way quite a bit. And so I think there's another gear for him to be that consistent player, especially now with Davis Alexander out. They're going to need someone to take on that role, to be more of a. But I also think, like, this Montreal offense relies on so many people. Tyler Snead, Tyson Philpott. Then you got Cole Speaker. Like, they're not okay, we're going to throw the ball this way a bunch of times, right? But, they do need guys like that to step up and make plays when the ball's thrown their way. They just haven't had that as consistently, and that's something with McLeod Bethel-Thompson. He's going to have to find a way to get he's got playmakers to work with. He's got to get the ball into their hands.
Yeah, but distribution, you have players to toss the ball to. They're not a one-trick pony. And as much as we can talk about Speaker's inability to be consistent, you don't have to be consistent on a team where there's other players that regularly I won't say all the time, regularly have great games. So you don't know who's going to kill you. There's lots of options for Montreal to kill you with receiving and passing, right? Passing and receiving. It's incredible. The thing of it, if I look at the Argos, Janarian Grant gets back from injury, and he gets 2 touches on punt returns. He needs more than that to be effective. And this leads me to the comment that the Argos just can't seem to get a defensive situation going where the ball gets turned over or the team ends up in good field position. It showed again in this game. And this is just a repeat problem that they're not controlling the field. They, the combination of passing, kicking, and of course defense controls where the ball is when you get it, or where the ball is when the other team gets it. And it doesn't take rocket science to figure out the further you are closer to the goalposts, the harder it is to advance the ball because the playbook shortens. And the Argos aren't doing that. And if they can't start doing that, giving their assets an opportunity to show what they can do, Janarian Grant returning the ball twice is not enough for me in a game.
Yeah. Well, and that's it, right? I do think that with when you look at Montreal, especially, like, if they definitely want to keep themselves in the conversation to be Grey Cup, like a Grey Cup champion, they got to show that they can handle this adversity that's going to be thrown their way, right? And to me, they can't I don't think they're going to use it as an excuse, but I mean, if people are going to complain about where the Argos are, well, there's something very, very different about the Argos this year. They don't have their starting quarterback.
Yeah.
Right. So they need to find a way to show that they're a complete team, that they're not just relying on Davis Alexander to be, look, you need your quarterback. I get it. But we've learned that teams have been able to find ways to stay afloat even with their quarterbers out.
Right. Like, it's just got to be close. Keep the games close. Try to win as many as you lose. Try to stay about even. And even is something you can build on. It's the record the Argos have now that no team wants at the beginning of the year because they're playing without their number one quarterback. This is the problem, because the number one quarterback can get you, you can hope for +3, +4 in an 8-game stretch, right? But to expect a +7, to go on a winning streak in the Canadian Football League, that's very balanced, especially now. That, the only reason some teams are the teams that are having problems, we'll talk more about that on the other side. We'll talk about these games, and we want to talk about quarterbacking controversies that are going on in the Canadian Football League. You made a couple of comments that have caught fire on the internet. We'll talk about that as well. But let's move on to the second game, which is Calgary and Winnipeg, 41-20. David, holy moly! I mean, I have, that from the beginning of this season, after the first couple of games, I became a Calgary person who's positive about Calgary, and I picked them in games like against Saskatchewan that would win, and they did. And the reason I keep saying it is because of their defense. But 41 points, I mean, Calgary, 41 points in a game, good for them, and they got a lot of help from the defense to get that. But
they did.
They're generating offense, whether it's the defense or the offense generating it. They're generating it, and that's not something they've been able to do the past few years. And it appears Vernon Adams has had a very, very positive effect on this team.
Yeah, I mean, you could put it down to that. Why is this team where it is right now? Vernon Adams Jr. changed the whole mentality of this team, but not just him. Like, they're getting contributions too from Damien Alford has been awesome for them this year.
It's amazing how catching the ball kind of makes a difference, huh?
Catching the ball, and also being able to have that speed that big play VA needs a big play guy.
Yeah, and big plays are really good.
Jalen Philpott, right now, I would say he's got to be in the conversation for Canadian of the Year.
Well, you got to have a fill plot every year.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Now they're another team again that's relying a lot on spreading the offense out. Like Dominique Rhymes, I wasn't sure what he would be like. He's been bounced around so much the last few years that he seems to have settled nicely in with Calgary. I mean, the guy was really good last year for Ottawa, but I think like that's a key one. There is you got some good veterans, and you're Vern Adams is not. It's not like he's throwing the ball a lot either. He threw the ball 24 times, and he had 267 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception.
But you've said that the past few weeks, David, that throwing the ball too much doesn't necessarily help the quarterback.
No, in my opinion, it doesn't. And so when you look at what Calgary has been able to do, that defense, we talked about it like how many times, but that defense is making plays. Like they're not just getting like they had 4 interceptions in this game. They're putting the team in such such favorable positions. Now, they also were dealing with the fact that Zach Klaus got knocked out of the game, and unfortunately, I might have been a little bit right about Chris Streveler. He's still a decent quarterback, but he is not. He's not your like. For one game, he was able to get this team over the hump. I just don't think it's. I don't think it's there anymore for him as a. Like if Zach's out, that's gonna be tough. But it looks like he's gonna play this week. But we see the good and the bad with Winnipeg's quarterback situation. Now, Nick Dembski, he's probably been the biggest benefactor of Kenny Lawler not being there anymore because he has been amazing this year for.
There's a big hole, right?
Right,
looking for a big play guy.
Top 10 in the league in receiving yards.
He's always been very good and made great plays, right? But now the focus is on someone else because of what you said. There, a big player's gone, so there's a vacuum there, and he's been doing his bit to share that big opportunity that he has.
Well, yeah, that's the big one there is opportunity. Because when you have so many good receivers, you can't get everybody the ball.
No.
But they've also found ways now to get the ball to everybody. Like Dembski had a lot more in this game, I will admit, but I do think that he's been one of the few bright spots on this team, given everything that's been going on. But that's 2 tough losses for Winnipeg.
Absolutely.
Against Calgary. Absolutely. And are we finally seeing that changing of the guard that we kind of brought up? I will say we have been in this position many times before, Frank.
But eventually you're going to be right because Father Time has eventually Father Time wins.
Father Time eventually wins. I just think that not yet.
Yeah.
I think it's still too early to say for sure just because we have seen so many times where things start off so good for one team, then it folds. Or we've seen Winnipeg was what, 1-4, 0-4 to start the year last year?
Yeah.
And did they not get to the Grey Cup, Frank? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Sure did. They sure did. The big but is how many times can an injury, especially a head injury, cause Zach Collaros to be out of the game, where there has to be a consideration on his part. Forget the team. Forget the team. We know what the team needs. We know you've established it quite clearly. But here's the thing. To a certain point, at a certain age, there's life after football. I'm not trying to make a big deal out of that injury, but I'm just saying it's another bell ringing. And every time that happens, what we do know about concussions is they're cumulative. which means every time you have a concussion, there's residual stuff that I'm not a doctor or anything. This is just me listening to doctors and repeating, regurgitating what they've said. So there's residual damage that's done. It's like building blocks, negative building blocks. So at some point, players have to make decisions. We saw it in hockey with Pietrangelo, who retired because he felt he wanted to have a good life with his wife and kids after his career. And he felt trying to get well enough to play was going to be a detriment to his post career. And that's what players have to consider. You don't retire because you want to. Sometimes you retire because you need to. And that's the other thing Father Time has on his side, right? That's the other thing. Injuries, accumulating injuries that test the possibility of having a normal life. And we know historically, not many football players have a great post career because of their knees, shoulders, the joints take a beating. So this is a human being. I look at Zach Collaros, love him as a person. I've admired his ability, but it's getting to the point where the question he's going to ask himself, I'm not asking him to ask himself. I'm just observing that he might spend a few minutes in front of the mirror. He might be talking to his wife. How many more times do you want to go through this? How many more times do I want to go through this? All those questions arise. And what's most important to me is not whether Winnipeg wins or loses because he's out. It's whether he has a decent life after the game. That's the priority for me, because I never want to forget that these are human beings. These are not robots. These are not machines. These are people who are members of families. So, I hope I have nothing to worry about. I hope everything I said right now is for nothing, but it's always a consideration. It has to be. It needs to be.
It definitely needs to be. And I also think that there's the talk about protecting the quarterback again.
Oh, here we go again. Yes.
It's just like, again, it's just, constantly just asking for, like, I've been talking about this, for most of the year with, Drew Brown. I said Drew Brown might not last the year with the way things are going in Ottawa. The guy is getting, I mean, we'll get to that game a little later, but just like, it's the same problem, how do you protect the quarterbacks? Well, the fines and all that stuff, I don't know if that's working. I really don't. But like, Collaros came out and said that he felt the hit was clean but late. Right? And that's where, like, a quarterback is not able to fully protect himself. And that's kind of the part that I'm struggling with here is, okay, are we, like, what's the solution here? Is it, the fact that they're taking unnecessary hits, or is it that defenders are getting free to hit these guys? Right? Like, that might be the issue too. There, I think offensive line play has gone downhill.
David, I agree with you, but I would frame it a different way. The financial, the teams spend more. This has always been an issue. It might be getting worse. The teams are spending more on defensive line than they are offensive line, and they're creating an uneven battle there. But how do you make it equal? As a league, I think they have to start thinking. To your point, they have to start thinking about, okay, the teams want to spend more money on defensive line than they want on offensive line. I know there's going to be people arguing about this with me, but for me, there has to be a kind of equity between those two lines. There needs to be a fair battle between the offensive line and the defensive line if you want to see the quarterback survive, because that's what it's all about, right? It's about the imbalance of defenses imposing their will specifically on a quarterback.
Yeah, right. And like, a defense is always told, like, they're told they got to play to the whistle. They got to, if there's an opportunity to hit the quarterback, you're going to hit the quarterback. They're built. It's a built-in thing ingrained in them. Like, the only way that that's going to change is if you make these players realize, okay, you can't do that anymore.
Well,
But it's hard when you got players coming from the States who are taught one thing as they grew up as players and they come to Canada, and it's very tough to ask for that.
well, what you're alluding to is the Players Association, as part of the bargaining process with the Canadian Football League, which is complete for a short time. They have to buy into the fact that quarterbacks are important enough for the game, because if a quarterback goes out, the rest of the team pays for it. That's, if that's not enough for people to say, hey, hold on a second, and players to say, hold on a second, our success relies on the quarterback being there and being reasonably safe. Again, that depends on where you sit on whether they're reasonably safe or not. David, by his comments, me now confirming and agreeing with him, there's a need to do something to keep quarterbacks in the game. That's all. And it's important to the league. It's important to the teams, not just the quarterback.
Well, that's it, right? It's not just it's like the quarterbacks can't be the only ones asked to be the ones to deal with this issue. The league needs to also step up and say, okay, we need to find a way to protect you guys better. We do agree on that. Like there's got to be that realization, right?
Let's continue the quarterback con. We slipped into what I wanted to talk about after we talked about all the games, and that's cool. We'll just real quick. Saskatchewan beats BC 33-27. Saskatchewan in the running game returns to life. BC again, in my opinion, not playing up to a standard that I think they can play. And the score reflected that.
Yeah, there's a lot of that too. There's always it's always kind of, yeah. I mean, it's so tough. Like it's tough sometimes when somebody comes up to me and says, "Oh, it wasn't even a close game. Look at the score." Yes and no. Yes and no. Right? Like
Trevor Harris was really good in this game. He had another great game.
This is some of the best football I've seen him play in a long time. Because before he was a very efficient passer, he wasn't taking too many shots down the field. This year, he is so comfortable with those deep balls. That makes it scary. Because teams are just like, we're going to force Trevor to throw the ball down the field and try to beat us. Well, guess what? He is doing that now. Dante Myers, probably Myers. What a season he's having. 7 for 7 on targets and catches, 132 yards, 2 touchdowns, a 50 yards was the longest one. Like, I was always impressed with Samuel Emilus.
Mm-hmm.
But Myers has just been on another level for them this year. They've got a scary good offense.
Absolutely.
And to me, that's why I still have them neck and neck with Calgary. I like that Calgary game. They flexed their defensive muscle on Saskatchewan, but man,
not BC.
I know, but how can you not be impressed with what you're seeing from Trevor Harris this year? Missing a game, he would probably be leading or close to leading the league in most offensive categories if he didn't get hurt for that one game. He's just been such a good. He's a player that you kind of root for to hopefully get a Grey Cup. Like, it's going to be a shame because only one team can win the cup from the West, or can play for the cup from the West. And there's 2 really good teams, 2 really good quarterbacks that are both putting themselves in position to earn it.
Absolutely. And their rushing game, AJ Willett and the guy that inherited the job for him with the Argos, Kadeem Carey, were both in the game. Mm-hmm. And you wonder how the Argos can't have either of those guys. And by that I mean Kadeem Carey.
Money. But unfortunately for Kadeem, that injury he suffered, that might take him out, or not for the rest of the year. I don't know if they gave a diagnosis on that. That looked really bad.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it looks like they're ruling him out for the season
There you go.
with a knee injury. Like,
Too bad.
very unfortunate because um they will miss his veteran presence on the
Absolutely.
field. Like, what you got it now, you got to hope that AJ Ouellette's going to be able to stay healthy and all that stuff because he was a really good insurance policy behind him.
Oh,
They don't have that anymore.
Yeah, pretty good insurance policy. Not bad. So Saskatchewan full value for the victory, 33-27. BC, great young quarterback, showed some sparks, but just didn't do it for the whole game. And they're still waiting for him to do it for a whole game. Let's move on to the Hamilton-Ottawa game. Hamilton doing what I said earlier that Toronto can't do, and that is figure out how to win. Hamilton this season knows how to win, and they do what it takes to win. Now, having said that, I know you're disappointed in Ottawa and have been disappointed in Ottawa for quite a bit. I don't know that they were that bad in this game, but the problem they have is, like I said, quarterback controversy, Drew Brown staying healthy. And we talked about, what the league can do to protect their quarterback. Well, the league can only do so much. The team has to do the yeoman's service in protecting the quarterback, and Ottawa's just not doing it.
No, they get an interception. They are within the red zone. It was third and 4, something like that. They kick the field goal, and I go, you basically told Hamilton we don't trust our offense to go and score points, and that's ended up being what happened. Their offense cannot score. They put so much pressure on that defense. And I do not know what the solution is. Like, okay, well, one thing, protect Drew Brown a bit better. Like he has taken some hard hits this year, like unnecessarily too. So that's part of it, because I think with Drew Brown in that game, it's probably a different story. They're making bad decisions. There was the botch on the punt where the player fumbled the ball a bit, and he just it was Pimpleton too, I think, that just made a bad play on the kickoff. They're just not playing good football right now.
No. Unforced errors too often, unnecessary penalties too often, and they lead to losing too often.
The running game isn't there either for them, so they rely a lot on the passing game. Eugene Lewis, remember we were talking. This guy's talking about him being a superstar in this league. 1 catch, 3 targets, 13 yards.
Well, it takes a lot to be a superstar, and it takes a partnership. Yeah. I wish people would understand that, how valuable. Well, listen. Okay, so look at the other team, Hamilton. You've got a quarterback that throws a deep ball that's catchable by a superstar receiver. I think it's safe to say he's also playing like a superstar receiver. And when you have that kind of threat, it helps not just in the statistics of the quarterback and the receiver. It helps defensively. It helps offensively. It helps in every way a team. Big plays have a way of creating imposition on the opposition. And when you can impose your will on the opposition, there's a good chance you're going to win.
Mm-hmm. I think Ottawa, like, as much as I've been, like, Edmonton's been a disappointment, I think Ottawa's been the biggest disappointment this year, because they have taken not 1 step back, 2 steps back. It's almost like 3-4 steps back.
Yeah, no kidding.
And I don't know what the solution is. Like, they're talking about Bob Dice right now, and is his job on the line right now? They say no, and you brought this up. You brought up last week. They got a guy who's capable of stepping in to replace him right now. Yep.
Well, change has to happen because the pattern of the way things happen and the results being yielded, something's got to change. And there's lots of ways to change. We'll just see which way Ottawa changes. There's just too much not going right for that team.
No, nothing's going right for them right now, and part of it's self-induced, right? Like I think they need to figure out a way to protect their quarterback. Get the run game going better. Better play from your offensive line, especially.
Absolutely. 100% right.
I'm very disappointed with Ottawa just because it would have been nice to see them really take that step, but no, it's not working out right now.
Not right now. All right. Quarterback controversy. We touched on protecting the quarterbacks. I no matter where you go around the league, you go, start in the Eastern Division with Montreal. We talked about Alexander and the problem they have with their quarterback. The Argos haven't had their number one quarterback. Let's talk a little bit about him. A few people have quoted you on the internet in regards to how does, and let me ask you, and I hope it was phrased properly because I'm not sure I was reading what you said. I was reading, I think somebody interpreted, but help me understand here. Is there a possibility that an issue is developing with Kelly and his inability to start, and how him not practicing at all this week, sheds whatever embarrassing light it does on the Argos?
So here's the thing with Chad Kelly. He's physically showing that he's able to practice and do some of those things, but the Argos don't feel that he is 100% and capable of doing everything he was pre-injury. Which I get it. Suffer an injury like that is probably going to change your in a bit, right? And this was such a brutal injury too, right? So the first issue the Argos had with all this is the timeline was wrong. They believed 3 to 4 weeks, maybe he'd be back. Just wasn't working out. So people interpret him getting another scan as, oh, did he suffer a setback in the injury? That wasn't the reason. The reason is getting a full picture of where the leg is at and deciding on what's the best course for him. Is he ready to play? Here's what your leg looks like. This is what we would confidently believe you can do if you go out and you played. What are the risks? Are you going to be able to play at your level? Right? And all those things. So I think that was part of it. They were getting a better handle on where he is before they give a full clearance for him to go out and play. I think this was always part of the plan. If he was going to go out and dress and be on the field, just to have a good idea of where things are at. Now, I also at the same time believe that they've had a real tough time with him getting that strength in the leg. And so he's been doing a lot of rehab in Buffalo with his personal trainer. I think there's just that concern that if he goes out there, he's not playing with a full green light to do everything he wants to do.
It's not Damon. The Alexander effect.
Yeah, exactly. They don't want him to go out there and then he's injured again. And so I do think that the big one here is I don't think he dresses this week. I don't think he plays. He didn't even. I shouldn't say that. Maybe he could dress,
but he didn't even practice. What does that say? Is that his impatience?
He's not taking enough reps with the first team offense to show that he's ready to go out and play a full game.
But I don't understand how he was there and now he's not. He's taking a step back. It actually sends the message. I know you're saying it isn't a question of him, aggravating the injury or something like that, or experiencing a setback, but his behavior says that's what happened because he's not on a curve of coming back. He's now gone backwards, and backwards being he's not practicing with the team. And I think that's the controversy that has fired, the local Argo fans.
Yeah. Well, he's absent again today, just so you know. So it's pretty much confirmed that Arbuckle is starting. I don't think Kelly's gonna. I just think that if you're going to dress him, it's with the thought that he's going to be able to go out there and play. I don't think he's at that stage yet. He's probably getting work done to put himself in a better position. But there's something clearly not right that they're trying to sort out. So I think the big thing here is if he starts to practice next week and if he is taking first team reps, then you're getting closer. You're getting closer to seeing him him being able to play. But I don't think that like he tweaked something or he re-injured something. I just think he's just they're trying to be very cautious with this.
Right. What about the cap? He's still his contract's on the cap.
I think they could. I don't know if they can put him on the 6-game retroactive to him missing the season,
right?
Which was also a miss. They could have put him on the 6-game and could have maybe accrued some of that cap. That was a miss. That's one there where there should have been more of a deliberation of saying, is he playing at all? No. Okay, let's put him on the 6-game. At least then, if he does come back, you can take him off the 6-game. Now you don't get the savings that you would have, but at least then you would have been a little more proactive. And it wouldn't have given
be hedging your bets, a little bit of insurance, right?
Not only that, it tells your fan base, yeah, no, he is not going to be playing these 6 games. Don't even ask.
Well, hope only takes you so far, right? If you're an Argo fan, the hope is that he comes back because the results haven't been there. But if the hope is shallow, that down the road, that affects the fans negatively, which is what I'm reading and what I'm seeing is how the Argo fans, there isn't a predictability here. It's very unpredictable, and that makes fans nervous too.
Yeah, I think the big one here is they should have just the problem with this situation is the player may feel one thing, the team may feel a different thing.
Again,
there might be a bit of that
effect, the Alexander effect.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and that's what we're talking about with Alexander. Okay, well let's move on from there, and we talked a little bit about Zach Collaros. We're not sure where he's at. The team needs him. He's getting into the downside of his career.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about Drew Brown. We can talk a little bit about Drew Brown still. He's a guy that needs to be healthy for Ottawa to be successful, and he's just not being healthy. That old, which ability is the most important ability a football player has is availability. And his availability has been very inconsistent.
Too inconsistent, but I don't blame him. I don't blame this on Drew Brown because he has been thrown into he's just kind of been thrown in the ringer. Now, I will say the hit looked really bad. And you know why it looked really bad? He didn't strap his helmet properly. He didn't secure his helmet.
That's scary.
And when we talk about quarterbacks protecting themselves, what's the better way to protect yourself? Making sure that your helmet is strapped properly. That's inexcusable, in my opinion. Like, it makes Zach Collaros, like, when he comes out and he says, he kind of it's like, we got to do a better job protecting. And it's like, well, you also got to do a better job protecting yourself. In that situation, I think that was a miss by Drew Brown to put himself in a better position to not take a hit and see his helmet fly. So I do think that at the same time, though, Ottawa's got to be looking at them and says, we got to protect our guy a lot better. So yeah, him and Zach are kind of in the similar vein.
Absolutely.
And
then we talked about Trevor Harris, who had a really good game, but he's been in and out of the lineup because of injury. But he's been in the when he's been in the lineup, he's played really well. So he's been consistent under center, which is important when it comes to the quarterback, right? You want him to be consistent. He's been pretty consistent. Even in losses, he's done well.
Yeah.
Right. But the one that we're going to talk about now, the one I want to talk about right now, I'll give you 3 guesses who we're going to talk about. What quarterback are we going to talk about next?
Bo Levi Mitchell.
Well, he's been a godsend for Hamilton. No, actually, I wanted to talk about Trey Ford.
Oh,
Cody we're talking controversy here. So the experiment or the full-time position that being quarterback has been yanked. Cody Fajardo will be starting this week against the Rough Riders. That's a pretty interesting, on many levels, that's an interesting situation. He's going to be playing against the Riders, which is interesting, right?
first time.
Right? 2 teams ago.
He has not played against the Riders since he was let go by them.
There you go. This is a first opportunity for him to say, hello, how you doing?
Yeah. It's a very crazy.
Should they have hung on to Ford and given Ford another start?
No, I think you need to sit him for a game at minimum.
Do you sit him on the sidelines or sit him completely?
Sit him on the sidelines. You just say we're gonna keep you close. We're gonna keep things close, but at the same time, it's not looking good for him. He's already lost. I think he needs this. I think he needs to take a step aside just to see the game from the sides. I don't think you can. I think it'd be worse to not dress him at all, in my opinion.
It was just a question. It wasn't something I was.
No. I don't think they should just bench him. I don't think they should just throw him up in the press box. I do think he needs to watch a game though from the sidelines. It's just something's not right. He's just not navigating. He's
not getting on the curve of what a young quarterback gaining experience needs to be on.
Mm-hmm.
It's frustrating because, you and I sat here for a few years now going, why isn't he getting a chance? Why isn't he getting a chance? Why'd they give him a chance is now the question, because now you're looking at a situation where he was given the keys to the car and the competition was put in the trunk. They weren't even in the back seat. They basically said to him, you're the quarterback. From that moment till this moment where Cody Fajardo now is the starting quarterback, that's a lot of negative stuff has had to pass for it to get to this point, David. This is not something it's not just an overnight decision is what I'm meaning. This has been on its way. This has been a quiet rumble, in the distance that now, we're being trampled by the reality that Trey Ford just isn't the kind of quarterback that we all projected him to be. It really comes down to that. And I'm feeling bad for the kid because I see possibilities there, but David, it's been very disappointing. He just hasn't been able, to make it happen. And it's going to get to the point where in the Canadian Football League, we see it a lot. Change the scenery for quarterbacks.
So I think it's twofold here. I don't think he's been allowed to be the quarterback that he needs to be. Like when you have a quarterback like him, you need somebody that's going to coach him to his skill sets. He's a quarterback that relies on athleticism. Whether it's a running quarterback, whether it's getting out of the pocket, like there are things that you can tailor to his athleticism, and maybe that's part of the problem. And he's also been through the ringer with this team not being very good.
That's why I'm saying a different.
Right. Like I can't put this on Trey Ford because there's other areas on this team that are not working, right? But I will say while it's not working and all those things, Trey Ford has to take some ownership and leadership in this and figure out what he can do to better himself. And hopefully by having this game not played, you can take a step back and look at it and see what he can do.
It's not just about him. David, and if I'm interrupting, I apologize. It's not just about him. It's about the organization. They've got a new GM, a new head coach, and normally in normal circumstances, they would get a little bit of a honeymoon period, right? But the quarterback issue has been a long-running situation that it's dragged them into the quarterbacking issue. And then when they invited him to be the quarterback and said he was going to be the quarterback, it created a bit of a problem, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they bring in Cody Fajardo, who he's like, I totally understand this. He is a starter that his other team gave up on him, and he's looking to prove, right? Um, I just think, you know what, you gotta take your you gotta take your opportunity here for Cody Fajardo to say, hey, maybe it is maybe a different quarterback can do something different.
And the good news, David, the good news is two of the quarterbacks that have had the best year in the Canadian Football League and eliminating those that haven't been healthy are Vernon Adams and, Bo Levi Mitchell. And the similarity between the two is that they've gone through the tough part of being a quarterback in the Canadian Football League, and they've resurrected themselves very well. They've resurrected themselves incredibly well, which speaks to a lot of the other quarterbacks in the Canadian Football League and reminds them that the Arbuckle Grey Cup MVP is not an accident in the Canadian Football League. If you've got talent as a quarterback, all you need is the right situation, which is my way of saying you're right about Trey Ford, that maybe the situation there isn't right for him.
Mm-hmm. I do think that that's probably a big part of it. I don't think I don't know if maybe he needs to go to a quarterback friendly team. Like maybe he needs a Jason Moss. Maybe he needs a Ryan Diddy. Maybe he needs a quarterback whisperer. Right? I do think if Edmonton were to cut bait, or Edmonton were to say, you know what, we're looking to move off, he's going to have suitors. I think people will see the talent and think, I can make it work.
I'd like a chance to try.
Right.
Yeah, he is. He is. He is a person that speaks to talent and speaks to ability. There's magical moments that he's had in the past. There's magical moments he's just missed by that much. He's a good quarterback. But let us talk a little bit with the couple of minutes that we have left about the games coming up. So we've got Montreal and Calgary. These are two teams over the years that have had not necessarily the kinds of results that were predictable going in. And now what we've got is we've got a team in Montreal that's a really good team, and we're going to find out how real Calgary is. Their defense is awesome. The toe-to-toe with Montreal, easy. The interesting part here is going to be the Montreal offense, if without Alexander, and the Calgary offense with Vernon Adams. I think that's going to be the difference in this game, what the offenses do.
Yeah. Can Montreal show that they are a contending team without Davis Alexander against the best team in the league? No bigger test, no bigger way to show that than against Calgary.
Cody Fajardo and Edmonton in Saskatchewan. Edmonton really needs a victory.
Must win in a lot of ways.
Yep, and Cody Fajardo would love a victory at Mosaic.
If I'm Saskatchewan, like, you gotta be prepared for that. But that Saskatchewan offense, I think they're gonna have a good day. And I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, Jake Serezna is not gonna be playing. So
he's out.
Right. So we didn't even talk about that. Like, that's a huge loss there for that Edmonton defense. So you're asking for somebody else to pick up the mantle. Then I don't know. It's that Saskatchewan
they
offense.
spent enough money on the defense. I mean, there must be somebody there with the talent and ability.
True. I just think that Saskatchewan's offense has just been too good right now.
Yeah. Well, Edmonton's going to be in tough. Edmonton's going to have to play a great game, almost perfect game, Fajardo is going to have a really good game for his team to win, admittedly. It's not impossible, but it's going to be one heck of a challenge. I agree with you.
Yeah.
And then Hamilton at BC. BC, this will be a cat fight, of course. BC has an opportunity to show what they can do. I still like their defense. I like their DBs. I know they've been inconsistent, but they're going to have to be on their game for their team to win. This is going to be another quarterback battle, and BC's quarterback, my goodness, he's got to play the way he can. They're going to need a good game from him, and they've got to figure out how to stifle Bo Levi Mitchell and keep Lawler from making a big play. That's my short film on this game.
Like, if you're BC, you got to make Kenny Lawler as much of a non-factor as you can. And it doesn't bode well after what happened against Saskatchewan, where they allowed a few big plays. So that's the big problem there for that the Lions face is can they make Bo Levi Mitchell have to make hard pass to throw? Can they get to him? Can they get some pressure on him? That's another big one. But Nathan Rourke has to come out better to start this game.
Absolutely. He has to be the quarterback he can be. And the last game to talk about, the team that we cover, Toronto has one win. Who'd they beat, David?
Ottawa.
Who do they need to beat this week?
They need to beat the team that they beat in the Grey Cup.
Yeah, and that team's not going to be happy. And they haven't had a real good season thus far, and they're going to have to do it without their number one quarterback, just as Toronto's been playing without theirs. Arbuckle, in my opinion, okay, generally speaking, I can say honestly that his game's gotten better each and every game. It's going to have to get that much better again for the Argos to have a chance, but he needs a partner in the defense that's at least stifles the offense of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
I do think that the Argos have a good shot in this game if they get off, if the defense can force some turnovers. If they can force some turnovers, and that's been a problem for them. They haven't had a good time. They struggled to get turnovers. And it looks like Claros is probably going to play. They got to get pressure on Zach. Because when Claros has pressure, he makes mistakes. That defense is going to be tough. Again, Winnipeg's defense is not easy. But Arbuckle needs to keep his defense off the field. He needs to get drives. Even if they're getting a field goal. Don't put your team in negative situations.
Absolutely. 100% right there, partner. It's going to be a good game. Unfortunately, you won't be there. I know you've got a family thing going on. Enjoy it.
I will.
Be there.
Last time I missed a Toronto at Winnipeg game, I didn't regret missing it. If you remember that game.
Yeah, it was memorable. It was definitely memorable. What last comment do you want to make about the week? What is the, you know, well, I wanted to mention this, that 2-and-outs in the Canadian Football League are the least they've been, I think, ever. Well, since they've been keeping stats, right? So the offenses have done a good job of not going 2-and-out. We haven't seen that many 2-and-outs. So it's not just Toronto last week with 2 punts. The league on a whole, the offenses are getting the third down conversions that they need, or they're getting first down after second down over and over again. So the offenses are doing real well, David. What do you know, on one hand, we're talking about protecting the quarterbacks. On the other hand, we're talking about how well the offenses have been doing. Is it a couple of quarterbacks that have done all the damage to the defense? Is that what it is?
Yeah, the defenses are struggling right now on second down. It's not. You're not totally wrong on that.
Well, we'll see what happens. It has been a factor with the Argos the past few years. It's been a bone of contention of mine. For them to win, they need second down conversions, and they need to stop the second down conversions from the other team. They need to make the team punt the ball. You have a really good kick returner back there. Give him a chance to show what he can do. That's what the Argos are going to need to do this game. They're going to have to force Winnipeg to punt the ball and see what kind of talent they have returning the ball. And I think they have a great talent. They've had a great talent back there for years now, but they got to lean on it. They got to lean into the kick return game.
Yeah, no, they really do. They're gonna have to find contributions from other sources. I don't think it's gonna be completely on the offense.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, David, thanks for doing this, buddy.
All right, Frank, thank you.
Stay out of the heat. I know you're going to be in a pool, whether it's a giant pool or a smaller pool, you'll be in water. That decision has been made. I get it. I got a party to go for charity. It's actually Christmas in July. So nice. I'm going to be dressed up as Summer Santa. Just for the heck of it. Good to see you, buddy. Take care of yourself. Wish my best to your family. And we'll see you next week. And we'll talk to you. I suppose you might still get a chance to be on the call after the game, I assume.
Oh, we'll see.
Okay. We'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon, sir.
For David Morisuti, I'm Candid Frank Stanishi. Don't forget Candid Frank on YouTube. And you can follow what we do. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.
The